We are back with another season review here in Iceland with the threat of we are into season 24, 5? The year is 2048, I think. Honestly, I'm losing track, as ever. After last season, when we got to the Champions League quarterfinal, we were looking to really hope that we could build on that. And could we actually be good now? Yeah, and we're actually in year 2047, sorry, not 2048. I've been doing contracts for players whose contract expires in the 2048 season. And that's why I'm thinking of 2048. Yeah, you join us in March, which might give you a bit of an indication that every Icelandic team is out of Europe as it is for now, which is a bit disappointing. You'll be right if you make that assumption. We are not even actually into the season proper yet. We are just waiting for the result of the Hafnarfjörður Breidablik game to find out who we're going to play in the little pre-season cup. You'll notice that Dennis Reitan, who we were talking about last time, current top scorer with 5 goals. We'd love to see it. And yeah, things have been going well. I won't lie. Things have been going pretty well, to be fair. Might not seem it, but things are feeling a bit on the up now. We've finally managed to sign some players who I think are a level above, and they were players who are happy to join. So yeah, we're pretty happy. We will need to catch up on what happened after Soy last time, because believe it or not, there were even more deals done after Soy. Well, I say believe it or not, we were in June, so it was inevitably going to happen. But before we get into it, if you want to do us a massive favour, drop a like down below and leave a comment as to what you think, where you think we need to improve. I've got a few ideas, but where do you think we need to improve? I'll show you some of the players that I think we need to improve on. But yeah, let me know what you think. So obviously last time I touched on the fact that we were signing Giovanni Gerritsen on a free. He has been pretty solid, to be fair. We can't really complain with how he's done since he's come in. I actually think he could have actually done better than he has done, to be fair. He's missed a couple of decent chances, I would say. But, you know, first season, not bad. 5 goals, 6 assists in 18 games, 18 appearances in all competitions. So, yeah, not bad at all. Could have done a little bit better in Europe, I felt. Only got the 1 assist. But, yeah, you know what? For a free signing, I'm pretty happy with him. And, I mean, he is actually wanted by Brighton and Al Hilal, so we'll see what happens in the summer. We signed Magnus Kaspersen from Vålerenga out in Norway, 18-year-old winger. Looked really good. We'd actually had this deal, I think, kind of boxed off when I saw you last time. He just hadn't joined yet, and we didn't really see the point too much in mentioning him just yet. But he's a player I'm excited about. 3.5 star potential, potentially all the way up to 4.5 star. If we can get him to make sure he doesn't get a fear of big matches and consistency issues, he could be a really good player for us. But I'm just going to quickly touch on him now while I've got him here. Peter Mutzel. He was out on loan at HK. They once again changed their manager, and they sent him back to us after what can only be described as a pretty decent loan spell with them, playing out on the wing. As you can see, he got 4 and 4 there, 15 and 13 goals and assists in all comps, and 5 and 10 goals and assists in all comps. And they sent him back to us, and you know what? He did actually score in the Champions League. We'll touch on that in a minute. And I actually think with a few of the sales that we've made, he might actually end up turning into our main left winger this season. Well, I say that we've still got Ilya Jakovic, so actually maybe he won't. But yeah, Magnus Kaspersen is someone I've got high hopes for. You know what? It would actually just be rude for me to not touch on Dennis Reitan, who, as you can see, has gone from 3-star current ability to 4.5-star current ability. I know stars are, blah, 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 but just in reference for how much he's improved. And that is even more important when I show you the players we've signed as well. But yeah, fantastic player. Really, really good. If we just show his development, he has come on really, really well. Sorry, progress and not development. Well, kind of the same thing. But yeah, if I show you that and I show you his attributes and we show you all time, as you can see, actually, to be fair, he's gone up mainly in the physicals, a little bit in the mentals and in the finishing. Well, that's in a season. I'm so happy with him. So happy. These guys are loan farm players, really. Sebastian Einseth. Basically, he managed to go out on loan to Akranis last season. They sent him back again. Basically, we had a load of players come back from the loan farm. I don't know why. Clubs just didn't want to extend their loan deals. But Rosenberg, 3.7 million. loan farm player, realistically, hopefully will develop. He's only 18 years old, the goalkeeper. But yeah, I just want him to be a nice, solid loan farm player. And if he develops really well, then great. We might be able to sell him to someone in the loan farm, and he might become a permanent signing for them, maybe make them some money down the line. But yeah, we're not expecting anything from him in our first team. Now, this is a little bit of a sort of semi-spoiler, I guess, for what's going to come up next is Takuya Terao. We signed him from Japan. I can't remember who it was from. It was from Kashiwa Reysol. So basically, we clocked onto the fact that there were quite a few elite Japanese players in the save. Like absolutely phenomenal, like probably some of the best players in their position playing for like massive clubs like City, United. There's a striker at Spurs who was just unreal, just so good. So he's basically scouted the entire Japanese league under 21s. We found this guy. He was the one who looked like he might have even just remotely something about him. And we thought, you know what, let's take a gamble. He didn't cost us a lot. I think he cost us 3 mil. And we thought, it might help boost our reputation in Japan a little bit. And we'd actually do our preseason tour in Japan. I don't know if it had anything to do with it, with us sort of trying to branch out into those markets. But he basically just couldn't get settled. We had to give him like 2 leaves of absence. He did learn Icelandic fine, but then Newcastle bid for him and he wanted to go. And I was like, you know what? I can't be doing with you drama. You're 21. You're not really going to get any better. Just go. We made a small profit on him. After Menench, the next big sale was Ali Ikenna. So we signed him, I think, 2 years ago from Midtjylland for 12.5 mil. I can't remember how we found him, whether he was a next-gen player or what. But we loaned him out. He went to Leverkusen, did okay. He then went to Inter, and they had an obligation to buy if they won the league for like 15 mil. They missed out on the last day, which in hindsight was probably actually just as well, because then Man City bid for him and we just kept rejecting, and eventually they bid up and we sold him for 39.5 mil. And that was an unreal profit for someone who, we'd signed for 8.5 mil. Potential was going to be 12, but it never reached that. And we're going to potentially get 39.5 mil for him, which I think we will get because he is playing a lot for City, mostly off the bench, but some of that is appearances, some of that is installments. So I'd expect us to see that back. He was someone we didn't sign to be a first choice striker for us. We didn't think he had enough about him to do that. We just took a punt on him because we had the money. And, we flipped him and we got a decent profit. I'm just showing you this guy because we did touch on him last time, and that was Haluk Kanetsukas. We sold him to Spurs for 10 million. He didn't kick a ball for us. He basically played in our... I don't think he did. No, he didn't. Basically played in the under-18s. We signed him for 5.5. He's gone to Spurs for 8 million, 10 million potential. So, yeah, easy flip, easy profit. One I was a little bit disappointed on in the end was Rodrigo Russo, someone who we talked about, I think, 2 episodes ago. We were basically hoping that he might turn into a semi-decent player for us and we might be able to use him / sell him for profit. We were rejecting bids last season, like last summer for him, for basically, I think possibly a little bit more than we ended up getting for him for this season. But we just sort of felt like he wasn't really developing. We were struggling to fit him in registration rules. We couldn't get him out onto the loan farm. So we just ended up selling him to Inter for 9 million. And then City came calling again, this time for Kale Lucic, who wanted to leave. He was fuming to not be able to join City. We didn't feel like it was worth alienating him and potentially upsetting the rest of the squad to keep him. He does actually want to leave because he's concerned about being replaced. I know why he's concerned about being replaced, because City signed a player that we were desperate to try and get. But he wanted money to come to us because obviously who we are. And he went to City for like less than he was demanding from us. Basically, he wanted 600k a week to join us, and then with a load of add-ons, and we tried to negotiate him down. We weren't really prepared to give him even more than north of the 300k. He got 325k at City. We didn't really want to give him that, but he was very good. I will show you him. And then when we had to negotiate some of his optionals out, because we just couldn't do that, he then wanted 800k a week, and we were like, no, we can't do that. Anyway, back to Kale. 41.5 million to City. We signed him from Monaco, I want to say, for 28.5 mil. And he's gone to City for 35 mil and potentially going to get 41.5 mil. He'd been a decent player for us, but with Augusto, who's still very, very good, but he equally is kind of hankering for a move. We've had some bids from Arsenal. We've said if they still want you at the end of the season, okay, we'll sell you. It was the only way we could keep him, really. But we'll see what happens there. And we were playing Robson Louise as a backup for that inverted wing back, but he has also since left, and we'll come on to him in a bit. And it was Boguert who did eventually leave. He went to Monaco for 40 million in total. He'd been a good player for us. We're not going to deny him that. He had been good. He was very versatile. Like, we could play him if we wanted to as a volante in some of the lesser games in the league, and he would still do really, really well. But we'd signed him for 26.5 mil from Copenhagen, and he's gone to Monaco for 29.5 mil with 40 mil in add-ons. 40 mil including add-ons, and I think we'll get them. Because again, it's installments and performance related, and as you can see, he's playing quite a lot for them. So I'm sure we'll get that bonus. And the last sort of real deal we did towards the end of the window majorly was Yannick Clemens, who I can't remember how much we touched on him, to be fair. We have mentioned him, obviously, when we signed him. But yeah, we signed him, I can't remember how much for, 11 million, and he's gone to Valencia for potentially 16.25 mil, but 15.25 mil. And he's doing well there, and we should get that bonus through quite nicely. He'd been decent for us, as you can see, really good average match ratings. He was a decent player, but with Gerritsen and Vargas, who are easily better than him, we didn't really see the point in keeping him. And he was quite happy to go, and we weren't that bothered about trying to negotiate and put them off. We thought, let's just do the deal while we kind of make it that little bit of profit. And I would say a sign, really, of where Iceland has got to is that we can sell players like Martin Tentugal to Breda Bleak, where he's been on loan for quite a while. But 10 million, like, that's decent. Like, that they can just now drop 10 million. It suggests they've got a good bit of financial stability going on. They are out there signing players and, putting down decent bits of money. They are quite financially secure, I think. Estimated value of 89.08 million. So, yeah, we can be quite happy with players like him going there. And I'm sure, with that value, if they sell him, they'll get a decent profit. And then, as we said last episode, the same did apply for Thomas Vasby, who'd been on loan at HK for a couple of seasons, done really, really well. They sent him, they weren't extending his loan deal because basically he didn't have the option to play against us somehow. So we said, oh no, it's right, you can play him against us if you want. Sorry, we didn't realise that wasn't there. And they were like, no, actually, we don't want him now on loan, now that we can play him against you, the best team in the league. So I was like, right, okay, well, do you want to buy him then? And they were like, yeah, how does 10 million sound? I was like, yeah, take him, that's fine. It was non-negotiable. I couldn't negotiate in a sell-on, but I was like, you know what, it's fine. You keep the money if you sell him. Now we're going to move on to this season's ins, and this is another one where it was like, let's get the band back together. Mats Lerver, free signing from Vancouver, not been with us since 2040 for 7 seasons. He's not very good now. He's still very technically good and very mentally good, but physically he's not great. He loves big matches. He's consistent still, but we brought him in because we've now managed to get him on a coaching course. So, as you can see what's going on here, he's going to come in. He wants to be emergency backup. We're going to give him his coaching badges. His contract expires at the end of the season. We may well renew that. We may well end up doing what's happened with Olafur Thorvaldsen. He retired. He took a coaching job in our under-19s as a goalkeeping coach. Is working on his coaching badges. If Mats Lerver can do that, we'll have Jolofsson, Schmidt, Valsen, Lerver, all the boys getting back together. The big disappointment we had, though, which I think I completely glossed over, was Alan Swage retired from Utrecht and didn't want to go into coaching. So he's just sat there enjoying himself, and I would have loved to have had him in the coaching setup. And even that's the one time where I would use the editor, if I could, to put him in. Basically, the only reason I use the editor is because when I do the custom kits that I import, I just change like the names, like the bars and the dots for the pitch, just so they reflect the kit. That's the only thing. Oh, and the goalkeeper kits as well. But yeah, I'd love to be able to make Alan Swage a coach, but it just doesn't work like that. And bringing it back to our little Japanese contingent, we signed Sena Harada for Kyoto Sanga. 18 years old. He's only just joined us because he's only just turned 18. Well, turned 18 since we agreed the deal. He might actually be decent, to be fair. He's only got a 3-star potential, but that might be relative to Jokovic, Raitan, Carlos, who we'll touch on in a bit. But who knows? We'll see what happens. Again, I'm hoping he might be at least a loan farm player, but we'll see. And the signing of Carlos Francis here from Liverpool was a player where we felt like, okay, are we finally getting somewhere now? We managed to bring him in. He was transfer listed, 62 million. We had the money. We had 350 million, 400 million almost to spend. He's basically training as a regista. because I feel like he can do that role pretty nicely. Then Daniel Schumacher is wanted. He is unsettled. He would leave if the right club bid for him. And Carlos Francis was happy to come in and be a squad player. And yeah, made up with that. Really good deal, I think, for a really good player. Likes big matches, consistent. Yeah, good passer, good dribbler. Can definitely do that Regista role for us. And he could almost be a rotation option. Just gives us some real quality and depth in that midfield. And this is the one. This was the signing which I thought bloody wonderful. Carlos, 66 million release clause from Sporting Gijon out in Spain. And technically, very, very good. Good passing, decent dribbling, good first touch, solid finishing with that composure, the anticipation, decisions, physical, just fantastic. And yeah, I'm made up. I'm hoping once he hits 24, we're going to see a bit better where he's at with his consistency in his big games, maybe. But yeah, really, really good. He's hit the ground running in the Cup so far. And the only downside was that we couldn't register him for the Champions League because he didn't join until February. But really, really happy with him. And I'm sure we'll either sell him for big money or he'll turn into a legend. So that does mean with those two signings so far, we have spent 129 million. I can't see us spending too much more at the moment unless anyone else leaves. And we need to replace them. But we'll see. I reckon the summer's going to be big. I reckon we're going to lose some key players. So we might have to try and replace them. Now, our outs were vastly helped by some loan farm players coming back again from their loans. They weren't getting renewed. And we had some clubs just coming in like, I'll take him off you. I'll buy him. And I was like, are you sure? Okay. First one up was David Mira. We'd signed him for 24 million from PSV. We signed him in 2043. And at that time, I said, I think we've overspent on him. So imagine my delight when I managed to get 37 million for him from Leipzig. He'd done well at HK. Don't know why they sent him back. But yeah, he'd been, as you can see, a pretty good player for them. But yeah, Leipzig, 29.5 mil up front, 37 mil in add-ons. I'm sure we'll get that. And yeah, brilliant. The same can be said for Ola Christian Hatlahol. Hafnarfjordur for some reason sent him back. He didn't like big matches. I didn't blame them for sending him back, but he'd played a lot of football for them, been a mainstay in the midfield. And then we signed him, I think, for 3 million from Arlesund. 1.5 million, sorry. And Sociedad said, have 10 million. And he's played quite a lot for them, to be fair. But yeah, they gave us 10 mil. And he'd been with us technically since 2039. But as you can see, he'd been out of Hafnarfjordur a lot. But yeah, sound, no problem. I'm going to skip over some of the smaller deals. Like a few players have gone on permanent deals to their loan farm club. Like Matthijs Bozit, who we signed a couple of seasons ago. Bozit? He's joined Hafnarfjordur permanently now, for example. But the big one, realistically, this summer was it in the summer? The winter. Özcan Shakir went to Bayern Munich for 70 million. So we'd rejected a bid from him last summer, and he wasn't very happy. And he was a little bit unsettled. And then Bayern came in from again. We rejected it because it was a pretty pants offer. But he was like, oh, I really want to leave. I can't believe you keep rejecting these bids. And then Real Madrid bid more for him. So we accepted the Real Madrid offer, and then Bayern came in and beat Real Madrid's offer. So we were like, right, now you can go to Bayern Munich. So 17 million in total. I think it was like 49.5 mil up front. So 25 mil we signed him for, just under 25 mil profit, but potentially up to 70 million, which based on his appearances so far, we'll get that. And obviously he's going to be installments as well. So yeah, we should make a really nice sum of him. We mentioned the fact that we had already sold Robson Luiz. He had been deputising at inverted wing-back for us when Guillermo Augusto was either suspended or injured or just not fit. And he'd been someone who'd been unhappy for a while because like PSG, etc. were bidding for him and he wanted to leave. He wanted to go to a bigger club, yada, yada, yada. So Real Madrid came in, said, here, have 36.5 mil. If you're lucky, we'll give you another 9 million. So nice, easy profit on the 14.5 mil we paid to get him from Atletico Mineiro. So yeah, happy days. And I mean, a lot of these players that we've sold, we've been happy to do because we've had players already in place who we felt could do as good a job, if not better. So yeah, likes of Özcan Shakir with Mutzel coming back. We thought, well, you know what, he's great. We'll stick with him. And yeah, you can leave now, Shakir. And the same with Robson Luiz with Carlos Francis coming in. We didn't really need him as much. And as you can see, just a lot of moves out to Iceland. Luka Janssen and Abdul Karim Doué have basically just been loan farm players who got sent back from their loan deals. They didn't renew them, and then Premier League clubs were coming in and they were like, I want to go there. And I was like, that's fine. I'm making an easy profit on you. You're never going to play for me, and I can't get you onto the loan farm, so I'll cash in now. And it's time to move into the Champions League and Europe and away from transfers. And we've kicked things off with a game against Man City, and we drew 2-2, and I think you can safely say we deserved to get something out of the game, even if it was a 91st minute equaliser from Gonzalo Vargas. Yeah, I don't think anyone can have any complaints with that. And we then came back to Iceland and absolutely murdered Feyenoord 8-0. Absolutely destroyed them, and I honestly couldn't believe it. It took us to the 26th minute to get to the first goal, and then after that, they just flew in, and as you can see, it was 5-0 at half-time. And the free scoring didn't stop there as we smashed Kyiv 6-1 at home. And at that point, it was, 16 goals in 3 games. And our goal difference was far superior to everyone else's. And that would come in really handy at the end. A little bit of a come down when we only managed to put 2 past Slavia Prague. We should have got more. I was a little bit nervous when they scored from their 1 shot on target that they might potentially do a classic and sneak another one. But in the end, never in doubt. And then we went to Fiorentina, went to Florence and put 4 past them. They didn't get a single shot on target. Comfortable win. And at this point, we were thinking, flipping heck, could this be the year we get top 8? And when we went 3-1 up in the first half against Barcelona, we thought, bloody hell, we can't believe our luck here. But they are back-to-back Champions League winners for a reason, and they did come back and get a 3-3 draw. So naturally, the first game back after the winter break, we stink the place out and only managed to, managed to lose just 1-0 to Marseille, who probably realistically, based on that XG, were owed another one. And when we were losing 1-0 at half-time at home to Milan, I thought, this top 8 is going to slip away from us. We needn't have worried because we roared back in the second half and won 3-1, which meant that we came 7th. And as you can see, the goal difference came in huge because there was 4 teams on 17 points, and it was us with that 28 goal difference, which really 19 goal difference, which really came in big time for us, as it made sure that we were never at risk of dropping down into that sort of 9th to 24th spot. The issue we had was Benfica also got there, and Porto came in 9th as well. But that meant we went straight through to the round of 16, and we played Real Madrid. We lost 2-1 at home in the Bernabeu, with Charpentier actually saving a penalty. And what was frustrating is actually we made these changes because Jokovic, Vargas and Hernandez were not playing well. And we brought on Reitan, Gerritsen and Mutzel. And you can see just even looking at Gerritsen and Mutzel how much of a difference they made. And realistically, we probably could have actually, as you can see, probably deserved to at least sneak another goal. And 2-2 would have been beautiful. But as it was, Real Madrid keeper Victor Alvarenga dropped an absolute school university lecture, whatever you want to call it, diploma level, master's, PhD scholarship course in goalkeeping. He made a ridiculous double save from Gonzalo Vargas. I think both of those shots accounted for the 0.9 XG that he's sitting on there from about 6 yards. Realistically, he should have scored the rebound, and it's ridiculous that he didn't. One of them where... One of them, isn't it? We just couldn't break through. And it was so frustrating. We really should have won this game. Like we were the better team across both ties quite comfortably. 4 XG to 3. And I know comfortably. Bear in mind, 0.78 of their XG was a penalty, which was saved. So realistically, we should have won this tie by at least 2 goals. And I just can't believe that we didn't get it done. But you know what? Maybe it's a sign of our progress that it takes something like that to knock us out of the Champions League now. It's just frustrating because I felt like, based on how we were playing, if we could have just snuck past that, we could have potentially got into like a semi-final or something, but we're going to have to just go again next year. Once again, we're going to start at the Conference League now as we touch on the other teams. And the first up was IBK Keflavik, who we mentioned last time were the team who got to the Conference League. And they won 3-1 at home to Varbergs in the first leg. And then comfortably won 3-2 away. Nice, easy job done into the next round, where they would face Sunderland, who, as I said, are good now. And they beat them 4-1 in Sunderland. Gutted. Fair play to Keflavik, though. They didn't half give it a go, and they lost 4-3 at home, but they did throw everything at it, to be fair to them. Put on an absolute spectacle, safe to say, at home. And I'm just going to condense things down a little bit because I am conscious of taking up a lot of your time going through all these results. But, it's all right when it's just Keflavik and it's just like, a couple of games. But yeah, for Breither, they had quite a few because they went in at the qualifiers for the Champions League. Flew past RB, Donetsk Streda, before they then flew past Genk, absolutely destroyed them 6-0 in the playoff. They then kicked things off with a nice 2-0 win against Malmö in the league phase before losing 3-1 to United, drawing 0-0 with Ran, not a bad result away from home, before then beating Servette and Puskás 2-0 at home. Then they beat drew with Lyon 1-0 before beating Midtjylland and Astana, both away 1-0 and 2-0 respectively. They then went to Rangers, got a 1-0 draw away before beating them at home, getting the job done. But Valencia in the round of 16 was just a bit too much. And then it was the turn of HK, who came second last year, and they got past Vojvodina 4-3 on aggregate in the third qualifying round. But they did get smashed by Ajax, and to be fair, again, this is another instance where I was like, it's probably better that you are in the Europa League because you'll struggle in the Champions League. And they did struggle to start with as well, losing 3-2 at home to United, admittedly a perfectly fair result. But then they drew 2-2 at home to Puskás, which really they should have been winning. And then they drew 0-0 with Bandırmaspor. Again, really should have got a win there, I feel. But then they won 1-0 away at Maribor. Probably would have liked to have won by more, but they'll take it. And then they drew 2-2 away at Roma, another decent result. Before drawing 0-0 also with Ran. But then they smashed past Poznan and Warsaw. 5-2 and 3-0 to make sure that they finished in the top half, actually. And they played Braga, which obviously is massive. As we know, we're trying to overtake Portugal. And they won 3-1 over 2 legs. Would have liked them to have won away, but at least they didn't drop any coefficient points at the expense of Braga. Obviously, they'll have just been shared there. And then, you know what? They welcomed Arsenal to Iceland and they drew 2-2 at home. They're actually winning at one point in this tie as well. But Arsenal being Arsenal, they were just too good. And Marcos Rodriguez Vasquez, our old player, putting them to the sword with a 3-1 win at the Emirates. And then last up was Hafnarfjörður, who went straight in at the Europa League, and they flew out the box with 5 wins from their first 5 games. Before then slipping off to Getafe, drawing with Wolfsburg and beating Odds, and they actually came in, I think, 5th or 4th or something like that, so they went straight into the round of 16, but they lost 4-0 on aggregate to Roma. But as you can see, it was a good showing from the Icelandic boys this year in the Europa League, with Hafnarfjörður coming in 4th, Breither coming in 9th, just missing out on goal difference on a top 8, and HK coming in 13th. And it felt like with us getting 7th, Hafnarfjörður now, again, I think that's yet another season where they've come top 8 in a European competition. Breither getting close now, HK, we're hopefully finally starting to raise that level where we can be considered, in that sort of top 50% now, consistently across all the teams who get into Europe, of like on that falling onto that better side of the competitions they're in. We just need someone like Breither or HK to sort of keep up with Hafnarfjörður. Admittedly, like Hafnarfjörður haven't done great the last 2 seasons. They've been sort of knocked out, round of 16 this year and playoff last year. Admittedly, that was the HK last year. But, finally, getting into a position where maybe they can just push themselves and compete that little bit more, which is really good to see. We just need the Conference League team to start pulling their finger out. But we have actually got another professional team though, and that's Fram Reykjavik. So who knows? They're making some moves in the transfer market. They might be the next team to break into that top 6 and potentially get into Europe and actually be able to push on. And realistically, I think Keflavik might not be too far behind in going professional. They have sort of in the last couple of years snuck into that top 6. So hopefully they will be at a point where their finances are looking good. They might choose to sort of hopefully go pro and push on. But it's mad that we're still grafting here with 5 professional teams. And it's ridiculous that we're still struggling with that. Just before we finish up, as you can see, financially, we are absolutely golden. 430k in the balance, 362k in the transfer budget. Wages, we've got just under 2 mil spare. Smashing it now. And to think only a few seasons ago, we were worried about FFP. As I said, the loan farm did take a little bit of a hit last year with quite a few players coming back. So we're struggling to get some of these players out on loan, and we're currently sat at 14. But I'm hopeful. We've still got plenty of time in the transfer window. We'll get some out and hopefully start ramping things back up. And last thing to say as well, we are unfortunately losing Salvador Vitor. So the story with him is he was injured before the last league registration window of last season. Bear in mind, with Iceland, when you go into the last league registration in July, realistically, there's only maybe about, I think, 6-7 games to go. And he was going to be missing for half of them, and then wasn't realistically going to be fully fit for the others. And I was like, well, you know what? Let's just keep him back. Let him rest. Get him ready for the Champions League. We've got William Martins. We've got other players that we can play in his position. It's fine. We've done that with plenty of other players before, and they've been like, yeah, it's fine. You know, I'm injured. I get it. He was like, I'm not happy you left me out. I was like, it's fine. I'm going to register you. You know, I'll register you the next window. He was like, yeah, great, perfect. Thank you. His contract was expiring this year, and he wouldn't sign with us until that promise had obviously been fulfilled, which, okay, fair play. There was clubs bidding for him in January, but he wasn't that bothered about going. He was quite happy to stay. For some reason, the promise deadline was the 30th of January, but our squad registration window doesn't open until like late February, because that's when things start happening. So I physically couldn't register him for like another month, but the deadline ended like a month before it theoretically could be fulfilled. So he was like, I'm going to leave on a free because you've done this. You left me out, and now you've not registered me when you said you would, even though I obviously couldn't do anything about it. Bear in mind, I've been rejecting like 40-50 million pound bids for him in the January, but I was like that adamant I wanted to keep him, even though he's like not brilliant technically. Don't get me wrong, you know, there are better players out there. Physically and mentally, he's been great, and he's been really, really good for us since he joined, and he's been solid. And I was like, I can't really replace you at the moment with a player of equal quality, like in terms of what you bring us, you know, consistency, professional, likes big matches, etc. So I basically lost out on that money. I was facing losing out on that money. So I just offered him out in the hope someone in Saudi would come in. But as it was, Nice came in, and I think we're basically getting our money back on him. I can't remember how much he's going there for. But we signed him from City for 38.5 mil, and he is going to Nice for 11 mil up front, and then that is guaranteed add-ons. That is all installments. So we're going to get another 27 million installments for him. So we're basically just, getting our money straight back for him. So I can't really complain too much in that regard. So disappointing that we're losing him and we're missing out when we could have made a bit of profit. But realistically, we don't need the money. It wouldn't have been the end of the world if he'd have left on a free, to be fair. But I was just glad to get something for him. Just helps with the sort of reinvestment, because it just gives us that little bit of bump of cash which we can, just splurge on like big volumes on small players. So yeah, can't complain too much. So what all that meant in Europe was that we did improve slightly on last season, and unfortunately it looks like Portugal could be on course to get another really solid season, because they are currently on 18.9 points, and I'm pretty sure they've got more clubs competing still. Like, I think Benfica is still going, and I think Vitória might still be going in the Conference League. We can have a quick look in a minute. But we are due to finish this season 4 points behind them, because they are making some decent gains. Sorry, 3 points behind. They are making some decent gains on this season that they're losing. I just need it to stop here, really, because once next season comes around, they're going to lose like 8.8 points. And I really need that to stay where it is so we can slingshot. Yeah, I mean, Benfica are playing Nice, and realistically, they could get through that, which is really frustrating. They could quite comfortably get past that, I reckon. And then in the Europa League, thankfully, all the Portuguese teams are out. Oh yeah, I think it was just Braga in the end, which obviously Braitha, I think it was, knocked out. And yeah, it's Vitória and Casapia are both in the quarters of the Conference League. So they've got chances really to gain more points. We could be looking at, unfortunately, another like 20-point season for Portugal, which is just disastrous. The only difference is this season that we're not as far behind them as we are in the next season, if you know what I mean. Join me next time, where we are hoping that we can finally make some ground on Portugal. This just feels like this is just us v them at the moment. And unfortunately, they just don't look like slipping up. We really need those other teams to really start delivering. Realistically, what we need is us to get to at least the Champions League quarterfinals next year. We can't be having any of this crap where we slip up against Real Madrid of all teams, dominate them, can't get the ball in the net. That's why I'm hoping players like Carlos, etc., are going to come in. Reitan obviously developing really, really nicely. What I think is going to happen is we'll probably sell Hernandez in the summer. We had bids from him in January. Quite low value compared to what we were getting last summer. We find the bids in the summer are always a lot higher than they are in the Jan. So I reckon we'll probably get about 50 mil for him at least. So he'll go and it'll basically be Carlos and Reitan going forwards. But then we need Breither, HK and Hafnarfjordur to all comfortably reach the round of 16, preferably get 2 into a quarters, maybe get 1 into a semi if we can. But that's what we need to happen. And we need the Conference League team to get to the Conference League phase. This year, it's Leiknir, who semi-pro, first time in Europe as far as I know. They've not reached it at all in this save. They spent a lot of time in the Icelandic Championship, essentially, Division 1. They've actually got one of our old players as their manager, which is always cool to see. But we really need them to pull their things up. We've not had a team in the Conference League for ages now. And it's costing us so much. If we can just get them there, we'll be all right, I reckon. But yeah, that will just help us massively. But I can't see it happening. I just can't see it happening. But who knows? With a bit of luck, we might get there. So thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Bye for now.